All right, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Ready, go. Okay, well that's, go Carrie, go, you got him. It's his first round, it's okay. You already did one. Sweet. Okay, so plan for today. Essentially, we're going to go through, obviously, rowing and sled. We're going to go through technique and then give you a little bit of time to practice. We'll do the same thing on the sled, and then we'll kind of put you through a little bit of a, I don't know, Metcon situation between the two, and then whatever you guys need from us, or if you want to practice or things like that. So we're going to start off, though, on the rower. If you want to just pick a rower, and you're just going to row 100 meters, however you choose. So this first 100 meters, I'm not going to give any cues, any tips, any corrections. I just want you to do what feels right to you. Awesome, awesome. Good, if you're not to 100 meters, go ahead. You can take that break anyway. So we're going to go through setting up the correct way on the rower. And there is a correct way.
Depends on how
Okay,
fast
so when you're getting in the rower, first things first,
turn.
when you are sitting on this seat, you do not want to be too far forward or too far back, because you do not want any sort of pelvic tilt. So if you are somehow feeling like you have almost kind of like you're underneath you,
so if you're like
scoot it back. If you're feeling like you're too far forward, like you're having to already hinge forward,
when you
scoot it up. You want a nice straight position, otherwise you're not going to get as much power. Two, your feet, that strap should go at the widest part of your feet. If it's too high or too low, same thing, you're not going to be getting the right position. So make sure that it's at the widest part of your feet. Mine is probably, well, I could probably turn it one. So double check that and make sure that it is tight. I noticed a couple of you did have it nice and loose, and that's fine for practice. But if you are truly rowing for power, for a workout, for getting what you want in it, you're going to want it to be nice and tight so you can actually push against. Got it tight? Wonderful. All right, next, the handles. You do want to have a wider stance on those handles. If we have it narrow, we're not going to be able to have as much pull. So make sure that it is wider, but it has to be in a comfortable position. The hardest part of the rower is it is going to be different for everyone. It is based on having the straight line with that cable and using what you have in your mechanics to make it work. So Carrie, you are not going to row the same way as Slick is. It's not going to happen. So Slick, you have your rowing technique. You already know what you're doing. Go ahead, if you don't mind showing us real quick. Row just a couple rows. So if you see his toes almost come up when he's pushing, because he's pushing through his heels. When he comes back, he's pulling those arms back. But if you look at the cable, it's going straight. So if your cable is coming up because you're trying to bring it to your chin because you want more length, that is not going to help us out. That's going to take more energy out of you and not get any more. If it's coming down, or if it's doing any sort of looping motion, that is not what we want. We are not truly rowing down a river here. We want straight back, straight forward. There's a lot more, but go ahead and try with that for me real quick.
Think of it as when you're doing a bent over row, you're going to be a lot stronger pulling straight back versus doing an upright row.
So we've talked a little bit about where our feet should be. You're pushing through those heels. The one thing when you're doing that, I want you to double check that when you're pushing through those heels, that you're pushing back so it's legs, arms, reverse is arms, legs. I don't want to see those heels coming up. They can come up a tiny bit, but I don't want to see them coming up all the way. If that's the case, then we're not going that far in. You don't need to. We only need a little bit and push back, so that way you can push through those heels. Like if you were doing a squat on the floor, you're not going to come up on your toes to do your squat, right? You want power, you want to push through those heels and come back. So I'm going to have you row some more. But this time I want you to focus on pushing through those heels as you come back each time. So getting all the power you can, pretend you're doing, I don't know, your heaviest squat. Okay, next thing. Does everyone understand how the rowing machine works? The flywheel and all of that. I'll be honest, I'm gonna let
Yeah, I'll go over it.
He's just better at describing it. I can.
No, you're good. So, and Rich just asked me, and that's a very common question that you get is like the damper setting. Like, what does it mean, right? Most people will think that, you know, it's almost like a difficulty setting on a treadmill or a Stairmaster, that the higher you go up, the harder it is. And that's kind of true, but that's not actually what it is, okay? So the flywheel works on air resistance. And all the damper does, it opens that fan, or opens and allows air in, or doesn't allow air in, restricts air in. So with the setting at 1, it's totally wide open right now, or it's closed, sorry. It's closed, which means that there's no extra air getting in there, so it's just the resistance of the wheel. So when I pull back on here, that catch is what they call it. Like when you pull back, you feel that tension there on the chain, that's the catch. That catch is going to be a lot faster because there's no air inside the flywheel that's causing the resistance. Does that make sense? So, and I just explained to Rich because he asked the same question. You want your pull to be powerful, and you don't want to, in this, any of the ergs, whether it's a rower, a skier, it's about efficiency, right? We don't want to be wasting energy. So think of it as, y'all tried to like start a lawnmower with a rope before, right? You ever pull it and there's no tension there, right? You feel that? That's exactly, so think of it that way, okay? We don't want to be pulling on the chain when there's no tension because we're not going anywhere. You want constant tension on it. So at a HYROX race, it's automatically set at 7, right? So if you are like a smaller athlete, you're trying to go really fast, and you need that catch to recover faster to keep up with your stroke rate, you're going to want a lower setting. If you're a bigger athlete, you're rowing slower, and you want to focus on power, which is what you want to focus on for HYROX, you want that setting up higher. That's allowing more air into the fan and offering more resistance. So that catch is going to be later. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can I interject?
Yeah, absolutely.
With that being said, part of today too is finding that sweet spot for yourself. Yep. So for example, when I'm trying to go because I want like a good time, I will go for 7, 8, 9. But if I'm going because I know that I'm here for 2,000 meters, I'm putting that baby down to 5 or 6. So you got to find your sweet spot and knowing kind of where your strengths lie. And that's part of what today is though too, finding that spot. With the other piece of that, since it is a flywheel and the catch, when you are starting it, you can kind of get that catch a little bit easier, if you will. So instead of pulling back that first one and it feels like the hardest resistance to get started, you do a couple babies and it's already going. Yep. And you're not wasting as much energy to get it started. Yep. So if you want to kind of play with your damper and see what works for you.
You want to get as strong of a pull as you can. Don't think of it as a fast pull, think of it as a strong pull. So like she said before, think of it as like a deadlift.
So the pushing through those heels, drive those arms back, nice straight line of the cable, nicely done, Miss
I will keep it right around, I'll keep it under 35. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so a couple of things we're going to talk about, stroke rate, and then I have 11 and 1 up there. So basically those are the 2 spaces you want to be at. Like we're at 11 and we're at 1, or what is it, 10 and 2. Clocks are not my thing. That's not true. I teach time. Let's disregard that. Block that out. So the idea of that is simply coming in so that way, like your body is hitting that 11, and then your body is hitting at that 1. So I don't want to see anyone leaning over or anyone leaning back. You shouldn't be more than that like tiny angle of 11 and 1 when you're doing it. And then stroke rate. If you are, it sounds like most people have already talked about it, but if you're trying to get the most out of your row, you do want to stay in that 25 to 30-ish range, under 35 at least. The only time I would go above 35 is if you are in the middle of a workout, coming off of something like maybe a really heavy sled push and feeling like those legs are jelly. Go ahead and take that higher rate so you're still doing something and get the acid moving out of those legs, and then definitely put the damper where you need to have that stroke rate back to the 25 to 35, because in the end, that is the most efficient, and that's what we're here for, right? We don't want to waste energy. If you can't do it at that time, take that movement break, but then go back to the way that you're supposed to. So we're gonna try to put all of it together for, we'll say, a minute of your best form row and see how many meters you can get that way. So we'll say, I'll just use my watch. Ready, set, go. Yep, so Keeping those heels as down as we can. Push through those heels. 11 and 1. We're not leaning back too far, not coming forward too far. Catch that flywheel. Let it do the work for you. Okay, so only other thing I guess I have then to go through is kind of if you are wanting essentially to have other things to train to be more efficient at the row. Some of the things you could do would be like obviously renegade rows or any sort of rowing variation. I think renegade rows are kind of the best. But any of those squats, we talk about how we're trying to push through those heels like we would in a squat. So those tempo squats would be great, right? Or even squat jumps. If you want to do box jumps, the flywheel of that is the explosiveness is kind of what you want to explode off the heels of the rower machine and come back. Yeah, do you have anything to add?
No, you guys are good. Just remember that, like in the actual race, like this is just one of the events of 8, right? So you don't want to, even during regular workout, you don't want to burn yourself out on this. And typically people will kind of look at this as a recovery exercise. It's the only point in the race where you're actually sitting down. Yes. So use it as a recovery. You don't want to be, when you're doing a HYROX race, and I've made this mistake too, is that you're so focused on the exercises and you're not seeing the race as a whole, right? So whether it's the race or it's a long workout, you've got to really like pace yourself. Okay? And it's our natural like tendencies to want to like crush every single event and not think of it as the total of the thing. That makes sense. So it's really about pacing. Like this should be, in the HYROX race, this is like a recovery concept.
So with that HYROX race or Metcon or anything, focus on what you need to do for efficiency. So those heels are planted, that straight line of the cable, you're at 11 and 1, your stroke rate is underneath at 35, you have your sweet spot, and take time before or after your workouts to find what your sweet spot is. Just hop on the rower for 5 minutes and figure it out. So that way it becomes more of that natural nature and you just kind of get right to it. You know your number is 6. You know that your number on the things is 2. Like you have your norm and you know that this is where you're most efficient and you're able to do the things. Like Slick, I know you have like your norm and that's your power and you've got it. The more you practice, the more you do it, the more you'll have that instant go-to and it won't be like a question. So how do you feel about this one, Stacey?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I like it. I like it. I like it. So you want your arms extended if you're doing that one. Main thing is we don't want to bend them unless we're going to bend and be close. Yep. Nice. So then pause. I want you to switch which one you're doing. So either have your elbows tucked in for this push or you can do the underhand. I would say tuck your elbows in and try that one. Get a little bit lower with your hands. Tuck them in and push that way. And then on the way back, we'll do underhand. So you can see the difference on how easy it feels on the way back. Nice. Yep. And drive forward. Nice. Way to go, lady. Yep. So push through that front toe. Yep. Perfect. Favorite? Huh? Favorite? That one. That one? The last one? Yeah. So this time on the way, back, I want you to think about getting a little bit lower. I always start with my foot in between the two so I know that I have good leverage. And then this one's already at that 90-degree angle so I can push and go straight into it. So if you want to set up. Yep. There we go. Nice. Awesome. Is this a good, you guys okay with this sled weight? Okay. So we're going to keep it heavy. That's the plan. Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll do 500 meters on the row at your pace, right? The goal is efficiency, 25 to 35 stroke rate, heels stay down. You're going to use your legs, and then you're going to come and you're going to do two lengths of sled. Well, we'll do one length of sled push, one length of sled push, and we'll see if we can go through that 3 times. Any questions, comments, concerns, wins? No? I mean, a lot of you just pushed like a lot of heavy shit. You don't feel awesome?
I do.
You guys did awesome. So we're planning on doing these workshops every now and then. Probably focus on like 2 exercises per one and just kind of go through all of them.
Yes, yes. With that.
PFT.
Yep.
And the PFT, yeah, March 8th.
Saturday, March 8th. It's like the official PFT, if you will. So the idea is if you take your time from the PFT, we'll have like a little, I don't know, I guess cheat sheet, if you will, that says if you got like this range to this range, you would be great doing the open. If you got this range to this range, you'd be great doing doubles open with a friend, or this range to this range, go for pro singles, you got it. So it kind of, it gives you a breakdown of how you do in the PFT is here's how you would probably do well in HYROX in an event if you decide you want to. And then regardless, it'll be fun here with a lot of people, and we'll have prizes and this, that, and the other. But
yeah, it's a great benchmark workout. It really is. And because that PFT is the same like all over the world, like you're kind of comparing yourself to everybody else. You're all doing the same thing. And that's the nice thing about the HYROX I thought you brought up earlier is that the race is the same no matter where you do it. The weights are the same, the distances are the same. So you can really train specifically for it, which is cool. And you can see that progression. Because that's what you're always trying to do. You're always racing yourself and trying to get a better time. That's what I'm thinking about.
And I think to add to the HYROX piece specifically, a couple of things. One, if you go online, you'll see it looks like everything's sold out. We are an affiliate, so we do have some privy information and extra options to be able to get you tickets if you decide you want to, including discount codes and things like that. So being a part of the affiliate programming, we do have ways to get in. So don't take that at face value if it's something you want to do. 2, I think this is just now the 2nd year of HYROX being in the US, or 2nd or 3rd of it truly being in the US. So it's growing. So HYROX season is essentially October to June. So New York is the last one for this year, and then it won't happen again until October of next year. But they added, I think, 5 more spaces this year, so they're probably going to add at least 5 more or more next year as well. And we're going to keep things going, so we'll keep doing PFTs and events and things like that. So if it's something that you're liking and you feel you're not ready, join us for class, join us for workshops, do the PFT, see where you stand, see where you need to work, and then come join us for those things. And like, I think I'm not trying to push HYROX too hard, if you will, but I do think you just even in here, like you will be so surprised at what you can do that you'll walk out happy. You know what I mean? You won't be unhappy that you did it. Let's put it that way. But that's my spiel. And Monday through Friday, 6:30. Come join us.